Floyd! Floyd! I'll knock you out! He's sick, look at him.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. It would seem that the rest of the boxing world is now catching up to what I told you guys a few weeks ago, that the relationship is not completely dead between Toprank and ESPN per sources, saying that Toprank and ESPN are in talks to reignite their partnership. While no agreement is imminent, sources describe the talks as positive, with ESPN actively pushing to bring boxing back into the fold, especially now that they no longer have the UFC. They've nothing for their combat sports catalog, and that's what ESPN does. ESPN does sports. The veteran boxing scribe Al Berenstein of the Berenstein Bears said, "I worked at ESPN for 24 years. Their relationship with the sport of boxing has always been schizophrenic. They get enamored for a while, then not so much, then a little interested, then indifferent, sometimes even condescending and dismissive. The process will never change." The reason for it, I think, is boxing's volatile nature as a business. The sweet science, as it were, is not an exact science. You can invest a lot of money in a fighter, and it maybe doesn't pan out. Groom the fighter, develop the fighter into a world-class boxer, and then that boxer just up and leaves, like Terrence Crawford did, Shakur Stevenson. All before the broadcaster and the promoter get to make a return on that investment, or in some instances, it's not even that the boxer leaves, but the boxer turns into a pain in the ass, like Teofimo. Reactions to the news are somewhat lukewarm in some quarters. Vince Cummings said Toprank possibly going back to ESPN is nothing more than another fart in the wind in the world of boxing. The longer the sport is fractured, the longer it will continue to stink on ice. Veteran boxing scribe Michael Montero said, "I'm at the point where I think every promoter should just stream their fight cards on their YouTube channel. That would make more sense than what we have now." And so it would seem that Toprank and ESPN are attempting to mend their fractured relationship, but it wasn't fractured for no reason. Executives with ties to the UFC at ESPN had allegedly influenced the deterioration of Toprank's deal with ESPN. A source told Brunch Boxing, Matt Kenny and Glenn Jacobs sabotaged the ESPN deal and then left to go to Paramount and Zuffa Boxing. With the pair gone, Toprank and ESPN are looking to make amends and sign a new deal. Why would Matt Kenny and Glenn Jacobs have sabotaged Toprank's relationship with ESPN? In a move that raised eyebrows across the industry, Kenny left ESPN to join Paramount as vice president of programming for CBS Sports, and Paramount. Jacobs made a similar jump. Their exits fueled speculation within both Toprank and ESPN that personal career ambitions may have influenced the deterioration of the boxing deal. A last fuck you, maybe? I don't know, because if Kenny and Glenn both planned on leaving ESPN anyway, then what was in it for them in sabotaging Toprank's deal? A last fuck you, maybe? Maybe. Whatever the case, UFC is gone. They're over there at Paramount now, and ESPN is in the market for combat sports. Enter Toprank, who they already had an arrangement with. I said it before, and I'll say it again. They should just continue to build on what they've already built, because ESPN fast became one of the trusted sources for boxing in this country. So don't throw away 7 or 8 years of foundation. I never got rid of my ESPN Plus app for that reason, because I suspected the relationship might continue if you give it time. Now for what I was told. In case you guys missed it in the live streams and in passing in previous episodes of the relay, ESPN wants to re-enter a deal with Toprank, but under different circumstances. Perhaps even for a smaller licensing fee, because they were kicking out something to the tune of $80 to $90 million annually to do boxing cards throughout the calendar year. I don't know that they're prepared to kick out that kind of money again, and what I was told was they don't want exclusivity this time. They want the wiggle room to work with other promotional outfits, but they're still willing to work with Toprank. What other promoters would they want to work with? Well, they would have to be smaller promotional outfits, because all the big ones are spoken for. Matchroom and Queensberry, they're on DAZN. Golden Boy might end up renewing their deal with DAZN. MVP already have a relationship with DAZN, and for their bigger shows, they funnel those to Netflix. So when it's said that ESPN wants the wiggle room to work with other promoters. I don't know what other promoters they would have in mind. They must be smaller promoters.
Why would they want to work with them?
Cost feasibility. Smaller promoters equals smaller shows that make for smaller expenses. That would have to be the virtue, though of course ESPN potentially working with smaller promotional outfits is not the story. Working with Toprank again is. Who I still consider the very best in the industry, the gold standard in acquiring talent, developing it, grooming it, honing it, and sharpening it into some of the very best fighters the sport has ever seen.
Their foreign relationships with foreign promoters like Mr. Ohashi in Japan, Fernando Beltran in Mexico, Camille Estefan in Canada.
Their catalog, their existing track record, and overall know-how, I would call it good news. Very good news. If Top Rank lands on their feet, back on ESPN, a diverse combat market.
It's not a monopoly.
Believe it or not, I enjoy the waves and ripples that Zuffa is creating within the boxing space, but I'd prefer that the market stay diverse. Boxing on DAZN, ESPN, and of course Paramount Plus, that many more broadcasters showing boxing is that much more money being poured into the sport.
That is more fight dates for me and you. More to discuss. More money to make. Let's hope they finalize a deal.
Now for another story that I already told you about here on the channel several days ago. Mayweather vs. Pacquiao rematch is set for September 19th at the Sphere in Las Vegas.
On Netflix.
Netflix officially announced Monday afternoon that the legends will square off again in what is expected to be an official fight. The Ring first reported earlier Monday that Mayweather vs. Pacquiao 2 was planned for September in Vegas, with the Sphere in the running to host this huge event between Hall of Fame fighters. The Ring reported in October the pair were in talks for a money-spinning sequel. Sphere, a unique venue that opened up just off the famed Las Vegas Strip in September of 2023, can seat up to 20,000 fans for combat sports and held UFC 306 in September of 2024. Last week, Mayweather, who will turn 39 on Tuesday, announced he would be making a return to the sport in a professional capacity after his April 25th exhibition with Mike Tyson. "I already fought and beat Manny once," Mayweather said in Netflix's press release. This time will be the same result. Pacquiao returned to the ring July 19th in Vegas, where he challenged Mario Barrios for his WBC welterweight title. Their 12-round fight ended in a majority draw.
Does it lend itself to Pacquiao's chances in a rematch that he was in a professional boxing match where Floyd has been fighting in circus fights and exhibitions? Does it improve Manny's chances for revenge?
Pacquiao, 47, is also set for an April 18th exhibition against Ruslan Provodnikov at UNLV's Thomas & Mack Center in Vegas. 5 months later, he will attempt to avenge his loss to Floyd. "Floyd and I gave the world what remains, the biggest fight in boxing history," Pacquiao said in Netflix's release. "The fans have waited long enough. They deserve this rematch, and it will be even bigger now that it will be streamed live globally on Netflix. I want Floyd to live with one loss on his professional record and always remember who gave it to him. As always, I dedicate this fight to my fellow Filipinos around the world and to bring glory to the Philippines." Mayweather, 50-0 with 27 KOs, will participate in his first non-exhibition since he stopped UFC superstar Conor McGregor in the 10th round of their boxing match in August of 2017 at the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas.
Mayweather vs. Pacquiao 2 will take place more than 11 years after their initial meeting, which remains the most lucrative fight in boxing history after generating more than $600 million in overall revenue. Their long-awaited welterweight title fight produced a record 4.4 million pay-per-view buys and more than 72 million at the gate. Mayweather won their May 2015 bout by UD at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Vegas. Their highly anticipated showdown was considered a letdown, though, because it lacked action. And more than 11 years later, what are the odds that this fight will be more entertaining than that one when both men are substantially older?
There are some nuances to this conversation that you must now consider. The pay-per-view model is not now what it once was. Piracy is at an all-time high, and this rematch could not do anywhere near what the first fight did based on the current landscape. Too many people are stealing too many pay-per-views.
And even if they weren't, and things were more stable, too much time has passed to ask 4.4 million people to kick out, what, $75, $100 to see two old men fight in another boring fight. Simply wouldn't work. But the fact that Netflix is involved, that's what saves it for everybody, because everybody has Netflix. So if you can see it as part of your subscription, just like the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight, just like the Taylor versus Serrano trilogy, that's a game changer.
I'm not excited about the fight as a boxing fan, so much as a content creator.
Because when these two guys first fought, I wasn't a content creator. I wasn't uploading videos to YouTube, but now I am, and I understand the money I can make from it in the build-up, so that's a plus. And there is an intrinsic value to seeing the resurgence of these two old fogies, two old legends, and being able to cover their fight, because initially, I didn't cover boxing news. But now I do.
So there is a tinge of nostalgia sprinkled in there.
But because their initial meeting left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, that for all of the hullabaloo about the fight, it was a snoozer, it was boring, I'm not expecting much from the fight. When they ramp up promotion for the show and they launch the kickoff press conference, I expect some interesting questions to be asked to Floyd Mayweather, as the situation would have grown dire for him to come out of retirement at age 49 to give Manny Pacquiao a rematch where he never wanted to do that before. Why is he doing it now?
Because he's broke!
He's broke!
Al Heyman stole his money, and if he had any real optimism that the lawsuit he filed would help him re-encumber some of that money, he wouldn't be coming out of retirement. He knows the chances of him getting anything out of that are slim to nil, so he has to do what he does best. He has to fight. Not just Manny Pacquiao, he's doing an exhibition with Mike Tyson. I wonder if he's still doing that exhibition with Mike Benavidez in between the time he fights Mike and the time he fights Manny.
This guy's got to make money fast because he owes a lot of people a lot of money.
He will not make from the rematch what he made in the first fight because the model is different. The first fight was a pay-per-view where this is being broadcasted live via Netflix. What he's going to get for this is likely a flat dollar amount.
Netflix paid out about $40 million to Jake Paul, $20 million to Mike Tyson. I anticipate the purses for this fight might be somewhere in that neighborhood. Maybe a little more, but it's going to be a flat dollar amount.
Not as much as what he generated in the first fight. Will it be enough to keep his head above water? That depends on how long it takes for him to blow through it.
To spend it.
I anticipate that the viewership for this fight may exceed what we saw in Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. This fight, streamed globally around the world, may bring in even more views than that, even if people aren't expecting much from the fight. Because so many people have Netflix, they're gonna watch it just because it's on.
Reactions to it may be lukewarm at the start, but the old saying goes, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. You're gonna get the big fight feel the week of.
It's gonna be wide-eyed optimism that Manny Pacquiao may have his revenge now that so much time has passed, because he's still been fighting in professional boxing matches where Floyd has been fighting in circus fights. And as the fight date approaches, it's going to be all anybody's talking about. As stated, reactions to the news may be lukewarm right now, but as Netflix ramps up promotion and throws money at this thing, it's going to be all anybody's talking about.
And all anybody's watching that weekend.
Because there are no alphabet titles on the line, it's an unconventional situation. I expect both Manny and Floyd to be juiced to the gills. I mean, why the hell not? They need it.
And I expect that Mauricio Suleiman, in his fashion, will try to find some kind of way to crash their party, to be involved, even though they're not back to fight for sanctioning body belts. They've done that already. He's still going to try to horn in on their party.
Now, as far as who's putting this all together, who is organizing this event besides Netflix? The historic rematch is organized and produced by Ever Wonder Studio, Hidden Empire, and Limitless X Holdings. The bout itself is being promoted by Manny Pacquiao, Mayweather Promotions, alongside CSI Fight Sports.
I'm a little bit surprised that neither Turkey LL Sheik or Sella was mentioned, because I half expected them to be involved. If anybody has the kind of money that Floyd is looking for at age 49, so deep in debt, it would be Turkey.
Between now and September 19th, there is still time for Turkey El Al Sheikh to get involved in some capacity to sponsor this event as a Riyadh season event or a Ring magazine event. There's still time, plenty of time, and plenty of money. We'll talk more about it as the fight date approaches.
Elsewhere in the world of boxing, happening in the background of so many bigger stories and bigger fights, David Benavidez and Zurdo Ramirez held the kickoff press conference for what's supposed to be their showdown in May, to which veteran boxing scribe Sean Zattel reacted to by saying, "Credit to PBC for not folding to Turkey and giving him Benavidez versus Zurdo."
Who says that he wanted it?
They've deserved plenty of criticism, but I respect them doing that show on their terms. Garcia versus Barrios was a chance for Golden Boy and PBC to stand strong against Turkey and Zuffa.
What fucking difference does it make if Turkey's involved or not involved when you still have to kick out $75 to see it, Sean? You're talking about the PBC standing strong. They barely have a leg to stand on. They could use Turkey's involvement, and I think he would be if he wanted to be. If he wanted to put up the money for this event, they would have been on board.
And they would have been better off for it because they wouldn't have to use whatever little resources they have to try to put a show together. This is them just throwing shit at a wall, hoping something sticks.
Not an act of defiance, not when the two guys in the main event have already boxed on Turkey shows. David Benavidez did, Zurdo did on Latino night.
David fought Anthony Yard on one of Turkey's shows. Zurdo fought Chris Billum Smith on one of Turkey's shows. So, active defiance.
Spare me the performative activism, Sean. You've still got an axe to grind with Turkey. You've still got an axe to grind with Zuffa.
Wasn't your whole hang-up with Zuffa that you were afraid fighters are going to get exploited and fighters are going to get jerked? They're going to get underpaid. Fast forward, they're paying Conor Benn $15 million. Shouldn't that allay your fears? The sheer number of fighters that are migrating over to Zuffa right now communicates the opposite of what you've been saying, because they wouldn't be going over there if they were going to get underpaid.
So I don't understand what axe Sean Zattel could still have to grind with either Turkey or Zuffa. Maybe this is just him wanting to be right? It must be, because for all of the pearl clutching and performative activism we've seen about the changes to the Ali Act or how Zuffa is going to treat their fighters and what they're going to pay their fighters, their stable is growing fast. I heard Edwin De Los Santos went over there, Andy Ruiz went over there, we know that Rayo did.
All of which used to be PBC guys.
Jayo Pataya, Conor Benn, they used to be with Matchroom, so whatever Zuffa's offering, it can't be that bad if all these guys are going over there. They don't have to.
You're still mad at them? I don't get it.
What I will say is, if Turkey's not involved with Benavidez versus Zurdo, it's likely because he doesn't want to be, not because they deprived him of that opportunity. I'm sure they would love to have him throw millions and millions of dollars at this fight.
And I still don't see what difference that would make to Sean, since it's going to cost him either way.
It's performative activism, man. That's what it is.